Welcome to this episode of Elevating IT Podcast, recorded live every week on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with my good buddy Frank DiBenedetto. Frank, hey.
Hey, Mike. How are you today?
Doing great. And we have a special guest today. We have an AudIT user, but also just a handsome man, Michael Einbinder-Schatz from Jobecca Technology.
I'm just looking for the handsome man. What the?
So hang on a second. Let me do a little introduction because you are a celebrity. Not only are you one of the stars of Cybercrime 2 coming out soon. You have your own YouTube channel. You're on the news all the time. You're an award-winning speaker. You're all over the place. But also you were booked to be on another podcast literally at the same time as our podcast. That's how popular you are.
We had to do all this rearranging. I had to get the limo is picking me up to take me to the other studio after this. It's crazy. I mean, thank you for that introduction. I'm humbled. I'm certainly no celebrity. I'm just someone who's putting myself out there. I feel like as a 24-year MSP and someone who's pretty much made every mistake possible and continues to make them, I kind of enjoy sharing those stories. Along with the successes and the things that have been helpful. And that's why I saw a terrific opportunity to talk to you guys. And because I love working with AudIT. It just makes a real difference with what we do. Shameless plug. There we go.
Well, we appreciate
Michael. You know why I love you, buddy? Because as Michael McAllowitz says, that we have an obligation and a duty, right, to serve our clients. And you epitomize that because you put yourself out there and you're educating and you really do care about your clients and prospects. And I think that's what it's really all about, for us, elevating that quality of IT that's available to them. And, the best way we know how to do that is, of course, to spread the word and get out there. So I applaud you as one of my brothers in the foxhole. Proud to have you there, buddy.
Yeah, and I love watching you, Michael. You're really a natural. And you're just a great speaker. So it's a blast to watch you, and it's a blast to know you, and it's a blast to have you here today. And I want to let everybody know what we're talking about today is we're going to really talk with Michael about his retention rate and how he deals with engaging and keeping his clients happy. He's got an amazing track record. I mean, just some stats here. He's kept his client average retention is 10.7 years, and up to 50% of clients average 18.1 years. That's huge. So we want to talk to you about that, about how you engage your clients, how you move them, keep them so long and move them through that cycle.
Well, I think it takes, at the surface level, takes a certain amount of codependency where you take on your clients' problems to a degree where you don't eat or sleep. And I say that semi tongue in cheek. Look, I'm 19 years removed from doing any technical work for my clients because I realized that wasn't a fit for who I am. I didn't know what was really. I mean, I've made jokes over the years. I'm the guy who has lunch with the clients and whatnot, but that's not really the juice. The juice for me is, getting behind the scenes and understanding what motivates them, what's driving their business or organization forward, what's holding them back. And it's not like I know everything or even very much about any individual client's business. I'm not an attorney. I don't run a nonprofit. But when you engage with clients at a level where they feel comfortable in sharing what's going on at a completely different level than just the IT level. What's going on in HR? It's a nonprofit. How are things going during COVID with your funding sources? What alternative channels have you found to generate engagement in your donor base and keep yourself relevant, for example, in these times? That strategy discussion. And it took me many years to understand that that's the juice for me. And I think because I project that with authenticity, which is just to say that's real, Some people are going to connect with it. And, look, I don't have to tell you guys, Frank, you especially, you deal with a very demanding clientele, and they know how genuine you are, and you've been in the trenches working with them for years, both when you were on the inside like me. I worked for a law firm, very demanding. The clients that matter, the ones that we want to engage with, care about that stuff. It means something to them. It doesn't mean you have to be best friends, but they know that you care. And then when you're coming to talk to them about things like the red boxes on an audit report, they're going to listen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mike had pointed out something last week, which what you're saying kind of reminds me of that. And he was saying how when I do my business reviews with clients, we use that report, and we might spend 10 or 15 minutes on the report and 45 minutes discussing what you're talking about, which is building and solidifying the relationship. Everything from how are the kids to how's business, tell me a little bit more what you're doing, how's the new office coming that you're building, whatever it is. And I think that when you do it that way, they don't try to duck you when you try to book the next business review.
Right. They don't feel like just trying to sell them something.
Right. Exactly. And if we hear from some MSPs that say, it's really hard to do business reviews because how do you get them to say yes? The clients don't want to meet with me. And I think it's because of what you've done to them in the past, right? If you show up with, ticket reports and all this stuff that puts them to sleep that they don't care about, and then try to sell them stuff, of course they're going to push you off. But if you're going in there to, hey, I'm going to educate you a little bit. Let me just explain where we're at, and then, hey, let's move on and let's, tell me about how things are. And like you said, you genuinely care. I do find that leads to longevity. It also helps when you make a mistake, right? Or you screw something up, you've got that relationship. They're less apt to just say, you're out of here because, we barely know each other. And I think that, at least that's what I'm hearing. And it reminded me of what Mike said last week.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I've struggled at times, frankly. I have done the QBRs before that term even existed with clients who would glaze over because we were just presenting a whole bunch of irrelevant information. And by the way, I don't want to just sound like someone who has this down. We are constantly trying to review our strategic business review process. We use the SBR acronym. And by the way, just as a side note, and I think, any folks who are watching this may find this interesting. This is just something that's worked for us. I used to be in HTG. I don't remember. It's ConnectWise Evolve. Is that what they're called now? I think years and years ago. And, my very first meeting, which might have been in 2005 or 2006, Arlen Sorensen came in and addressed the group. And he talked about the evolution of MSPs, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0. And without getting into what each level meant, the thing that really stuck with me that day, and 15 years later, I still remember it, was the ultimate goal is getting a seat at the table. So if you think of the table, you think, who has a seat at a business or organization's table? Well, it's usually like the accounting firm and the law firm, legal. I mean, there might be some others here and there, but, back then especially, most businesses saw us as the guys who were hopefully not exposing plumbers' cracks as we crawled under desks hooking stuff up, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I want that. I want to be the guy with a seat at the table because I want to be relevant. And in order to be relevant, you have to talk about the things that matter to them. You have to attempt to learn their business, at least to a level where you can have a cogent discussion with them. Sometimes you can make recommendations that are outside of things.
I would love to do some research back in the industry and figure out who originally taught what should be done at these reviews, because it seemed like it was all technical stuff, right? And clearly that person who got up on the stage and originally told all the the MSPs back when I guess this became a thing. I guarantee you they never actually did it themselves, right? They're never in the trenches and actually experienced what it's like to be on the receiving side of those those reports, and then like watching like you said, your client's eyes glaze over. And clearly not well versed in sales, right? It was all about tech and the mentality that that the client's going to be dazzled by pages and pages. I used to say to people, I don't go in with ticket reports. If there's a problem, the client's going to tell me, right? It's perception based. I always like to find out. I ask my team, hey, anything I should know before I go in there, and I put myself on the hot seat. So I try to be educated, but we could think we're doing a bang up job and we show up and maybe the client's opinion of that is different. Well, there's no report that's going to matter if it doesn't validate what they're saying. So I'd rather just listen to them and not dispute them and say, well, yeah, but our ticket report shows 98% of something. So, clearly whoever originally taught this wasn't about the relationship building side of it. It was all about the technology side. And I also think that it was because at the time, that's when all these tools became available, right? So we as technicians, we get excited about this stuff, right? The blinking lights, and that's what makes us tick. So we're excited about it, and we couldn't wait to tell our clients. We just forgot they don't care about this stuff, right? And then all these years later, a lot of MSPs are still doing the same old here. So this is something that I had identified wasn't working for me, and then through AudIT we tried to change that process, and then of course teach this to other MSPs and try to help them become successful.
By the way, I still do that sometimes. I mean, there's old habits that I can lapse into if I'm not careful. Working with AudIT helps rein me in a little bit, but there's still a part where you have to make that really conscious effort, at least for me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, with the top half of our clients being at whatever, I think it's actually 18.5, Mike. The numbers I sent you, I reevaluated, but whatever. It's an awfully long time, and we've gone through all sorts of things. Marriages, divorces, kids going to school, illness with our clients. I have to sometimes find a way to not geek out. I said I fired myself as an engineer, and that's true, but I'm still susceptible to BSOS, bright shiny object syndrome, where, what do you mean this doesn't excite you the same way it excites me? But I've taken to just asking clients lately, look, we've been together 16 years, 22 years, whatever it is. You understand that we know what you need, and your data protection is the most important thing. Do you want me to tell you all about this, or can I just tell you that this is something we're saying you have to have? Right. And you know what? When I say that, it's amazing how often our clients are saying, yeah, that's fine. If you think we need it, we just need it. Those are great relationships. They're not all that way, but man, that is gratifying.
Well, that's what we talk about, selling green boxes. The only way you can do that is if you have that relationship with the client and you are seen as their trusted advisor, right? Because they don't really want to know how that sausage is made, right? And you proved it because you asked them. They said, no, I don't care about it. Just serve it up. And so I find the same thing. I don't know. I have to go back and look at the longevity of some of our clients, but we have a pretty long running list of clients that have been with us for a long time. And I think you only get to that point is if you are able to evolve as an MSP, keep up, and you certainly have to be able to educate them, because you can't have them on 2005 technology today and things be the same, right? So you do have to figure out a way. It's funny, Mike and we did a call a couple of years ago with an MSP. They were so excited. They made a sale with AudIT. It was like their first time using it, and they wanted to show us what they did. So we said, all right, we got on a call, and they sent us their audit report. It was like 94 pages long. And I'm thinking, how did you make it 94 pages? And we looked, and again, to satisfy themselves, right? The engineer, and I have an engineering degree, so I'm with you. I'm not If given a choice, I would fall into bad habits and go to the light. But he took the report and edited the PDF and inserted all this tech stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I laughed. I said, "You did everything you could possibly do to try to screw that sale up, but you still made it." I applaud you. I said, "Never do that. Never wreck this report like that ever again."
Yeah, at least they led with the important stuff. That's what I always talk about with the QBR process, right? With your business review process, you can get into the weeds. You can get into the technical details if your clients want you to, but just start off with the audit report. Start off at the top, right, with a basic summary, and give them the opportunity to look at it from a really high level, and then eke down into the details if they want to.
We have a summary report, and we've been struggling with where to put it. Do we put it right in front of the audit report or right after? And my lead engineers are also the account managers, and that was a decision I made years ago and trained them on how to do the pieces with that. And I would love to say that they're well, first of all, they are terrific at what they do, and they care. And from a longevity standpoint, I mean, we're a small MSP, as you know. We have 4 engineers actually. One is a level 1 who's outsourced, but our 3 engineers have been here 20, 15, and almost 11 years. 2 of them deal with the majority of our accounts, and they act as account managers. But one thing I'm constantly doing is reminding them as we're going through things in our SBR prep and in post review. We have to think strategically. I mean, it's like a mantra. I beat it into their heads and they're really good at what they do. And they have that great skill set of being really good technically, but also being fantastic with clients, good communicators, all that stuff. But even with that strategic angle that's not always part of the package. And I'm not denigrating them to say that. I just think that's where my skill comes into play, and the two dovetail. But we do have pretty in-depth conversations about where to put things and how do we tweak and refine this, because we have gone in with the best of intentions at times and then rabbit holed really down a path because maybe it was just a sequencing problem. Maybe it was a language problem on our summary document. So now we've started saying all these sections that are in there, you don't have to look at this. Like, I don't remember the exact language, but basically it's like, hey, if you're having trouble sleeping, go read the closed ticket report section. All you need to know is that we read that and we look at that for trends. And by the way, we found that Edna had 7 support tickets for her machine last month. And maybe we should be looking at the whys, and that's something we should be talking about. But we don't need to review all of those with you. And you only need to do it really if you don't want to go out and buy ZQL or something like that. And they appreciate that. But, we had to go through a process where we made the mistake a number of times and then huddled and said, what could we improve? Doing our afterburner, if you will, to just sort of figure out how to continually improve the process. And it remains a process, quite frankly.
How often do you do business reviews? Is it different for the client depending on the size?
Depending on size and the overall need of the client. So 95% of our clients are full stack, fully managed. And I think the longevity piece and the trust piece has a lot to do with that. I think audit helps us significantly because it provides a tool that's very easy to understand. Everyone understands stoplighting and everyone understands grading. You don't have to deal with that. But so if you are if you have the fully managed stack, you're going to be somewhere between 2 to 4 times a year is the goal. Okay. So as a little tip to any MSPs that might be out there watching this, from a marketing standpoint, one of the things is when we go to our higher level package, I don't say quarterly, I say unlimited. Why? Most aren't going to want to see us more than quarterly. So we don't really have to worry about it. But if they do, they're engaging with us enough, and we're glad to put in the work to meet with them. I don't think of that as we're spending all this time and there's money associated with it. If they want to engage with us every 2 months, I'll bet that we're going to be doing a lot more business with them, helping them out, helping them solve more problems. For the couple of clients that we have on hybrid, like monitoring only with the block time agreement, I mean, we have like, you know what? We only have 2 clients that are on any kind of break fix, and they're both MSPs that we're subbing for. So they don't really even count. They're in other parts of the country and they have a local office. But those clients that were on that before we moved them up to the more appropriate plan, we would do an annual review. So sorry for the long-winded answer there, but I think there's a lot. And I will tell you asked how often we're doing them. One final thing, I will tell you, we're still not doing them often enough. Even with the automated tools we use to schedule them, it can still be difficult. So you gotta work it.
And how do you work it? I mean, what are the things that get in your way? And Frank, you too. What are the things that cause the client not to do business reviews, or cause you not to do the business review with them? And how do you guys get around those things?
You want to go first, Frank, or me?
You go first. Go ahead.
Well, I think at the end of the day, even for the most part, clients that we have great relationships with that really trust us, there's 2 things. One is they're still scared of technology. So if I'm scared of something, it's just better if I don't deal with it, right? They know it's a rapidly evolving industry. They know the threat landscape is changing every day. And do I really want to deal with that? Or, I'm a law firm. I could go work on this case I'm working at and, generate hundreds of billable hours a week with my team. And I get it. But that's the other piece, which is I'm swept up in my business, and I'll get to that some other time. But the responsibility falls to us to be vigilant and follow up and follow up and follow up until we get those appointments. And by the way, we met with a client yesterday that we had not met with in a very long time. I don't want to say how long. We'd had some informals, but it was far too long on the straight SBR side. And I just said to them, I said, we have to do this more often, because the things you're bringing up are things that can be dealt with. The things we need to talk to you about, the changes, we're not doing that for you. And it's putting your organization at risk. And so they totally got it. We scheduled the next one right there on the call. I mean, it was good. It was a very candid conversation. And that candor is one of our 5 core values. I don't want us to be afraid of being the people delivering bad news.
Right.
So I rambled. Sorry, Frank. Take it away.
No, it's great insight. So I could tell you that, and you brought up a point, so I don't want to forget this. I do think it's really important, once you get on a cadence with your client, is book the next business review before you leave. I started doing that like in my personal life. If I was getting a haircut, I say, let me book the next one now, because if I wait till I need a haircut, what happens. It's like they don't have anything available, and it's just a hassle, right? I have to remember something, and it's a hassle. And that's exactly what it is on the business side, right? So I want to take the hassle out of it. I go to the dentist. Hey, should we book your next 6 months? Yeah, absolutely. I can't even believe it'll be winter or it'll be the summer. You go, I can't. 6 months. We're going to be in March or something. But let's do that now. So I think it's important, once you get on some cadence, book the next one. For us, what we do, and it's about to be released in AudIT, is a QBR scheduler where you can set up a template based on MRR. So you might say, hey, from 0 to 2,500, I want to meet annually. From 2,500 to 5,000, hey, that should be semi-annual, and 5,000 above could be quarterly. So you could set whatever frequency, and then when you start adding the AudITs into the system, it'll take a look at the MRR, which is going to be able to pull from the PSA tool and automatically apply that template and then suggest the schedules for you. And then you could adjust them, you can override them. So we think that'll be helpful. But for me, Mike, you asked the question, like, why maybe is it difficult from the client side? Like, why maybe they don't want to meet with me? Sometimes what I find is I've got clients, and you probably do too, Michael, they listen to everything I tell them to do. Like, we've got that relationship. So if I'm hunting them down because I say, hey, you should add this $2 a month per workstation thing, right? New cybersecurity, whatever. And you have 20 workstations. So it's going to increase your bill by $40 whole a month. And I'm hunting them down for weeks or months, but I haven't rolled it out to them. And then I get them and they say, you mean to tell me for $40 you left us like naked on that thing that you're telling us we need? So Mike's always amazed by this, and I'm not going to mention the vendors, but you know some of the players in our space recently, and they're the ones that's $1.50, $2. I added since COVID started $5 a month to manage workstation across my entire base. Had one client question it, nobody else ever even said a word to me. I increased prices. People like other MSPs are like, oh my God, it's COVID. You can't increase your prices. Yes, you can if you're adding more value. And I said, I don't want to sit down with a client after something bad happened and say, we have a product that would have helped and would have prevented this issue you now have. But I didn't get a chance to meet with you because it was COVID, right? Or because I was remote or you were unavailable. So I routinely, and there's a threshold there, we can't just add $1,000 a month and say, oh, I thought you'd like this, right?
Yeah.
But I routinely have that. So what I find is some of my clients are not hesitant, but they're like, we just met, like everything's good. Like, is there anything we need to buy? No. All right, then let's wait another 3 or 6 months. So those, even though some of those are what other MSPs would consider high MRR clients, I've got that relationship where things are good. And you know what, we can get on less of a frequent cadence. Now I always try to keep my eye on that because I never want to get blindsided and you haven't met in 6 months and all of a sudden you get that email like, hey, we're going in a different direction. What happened? I thought things were great, but knock wood, so far that hasn't happened to me. But that sometimes does happen, Mike, where they say, hey, things are great. Like, is there something you want to talk about? Let's just hammer it out right now. We don't need to necessarily get together. But other than that, I think that once you start those meetings and you start doing them this way, where it's more relationship building. And one thing we talk about, Michael, and I'm not sure if you agree with this or not, but my belief is that the sale for a prospect is made during the discovery session, not in that last meeting when you take the proposal out, right? Because I argue that when you're building a relationship during that discovery, if you're doing it properly, if you're just, plugging in a USB thumb drive, scanning for some data and you're out the door, you're not building a relationship. But you sit there and really ask why and open-ended questions and really get them to help understand the problems. Now they're on your side of the table. Now they want to see what are we going to do to solve these problems, right? So I think that sale is made there. So if they're your existing clients, I think that sale continues to be made during those business reviews when you treat them the same way, not when you pound them over the head with a pile of tech that they don't care or understand. So I think those are
I do agree. And are you getting feedback now? Nope, that disappeared. I got a little echo there for a moment, but I actually do agree. I hadn't thought of it much in those terms, but you're absolutely right. It is about relationship building, and what you're setting in that initial discovery meeting is you're telling them by your, not just your words, but by your actions, who you are and what you care about, and the degree of diligence that you put into things. And if they see you doing that, then when you go to present, there could be some issues that come up, but they're likely to be math problems. And by the way, if it doesn't work out at that point, it's probably just not meant to work out. And maybe that was a problem at the pre-qualification stage. You didn't kind of dig deep enough and get the understanding. Like you see a $5,000 a month problem, and they have a $500 a month budget.
Right.
And that's just not a meeting to take.
Not a good fit.
You can't deliver value, Right. And,
yeah, we talked about that in a previous session too, where the gap, which is really the value, right? Sometimes it's either not wide enough where you say, well, there's no real reason for you to change, or sometimes, like from a budgetary standpoint, they can't possibly close the gap. So that, it does help you disqualify some prospects. Look, you can't work with everybody, right? So some of them, you don't waste your time, and you can bow out and you can drip market. Maybe their circumstances will change.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, listen, guys, this is a great conversation. I'm sitting here enjoying this, and I want to do it again. Michael, we got to have you back, but we've got to get you on your limo to your next.
There you go.
Your next appearance.
I need to change my shirt, so it's not a dead giveaway. I did all this.
And Michael, no hat today. No hat. Like, what happened?
I know. You know what? I had a great new hat that I wore all at our meeting that I was just telling you about, that I was at for a couple of days, and I don't know. It was raining today. I didn't feel like getting.
All right, we're going to give you an opportunity to come back, and this time I want to see a hat.
I'll wear a hat.
I always love your sense of style, especially when it comes to hats.
Well, I can say you this, by the way. I got a lot of comments down in Delaware for this.
So, and for those of you listening on the podcast, Michael just put on a mask that looks like you're going to have to explain that.
Well, one of my colleagues in my MSP Ignite peer group said you got to get these. They're from a company in Canada. It's got a filter on the inside and a hard shell mask. But if you look at it closely, it might resemble a Hannibal Lecter mask, but really more than that, it looks like a cup. It looks like
it looks like the cup that I wore when I was a catcher in Little League. It's kind of small mask too. It barely even covers your chin.
Well, I got some style points on it. It's got silicone, so it doesn't fog my glasses. That's the big point. But anyway, it was great seeing you guys, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.
Have a good weekend.